Hey Julia, thank you so much for coming to chat with me on Wellness Wednesday. We've got Julia from Julia Young Nutrition. Nice to have another foodie on board. So on this occasion, obviously you're a nutritionist, but what you do is quite different to what I do. You specialise in fertility. So I'm going to quiz you a little bit today about what that involves, because that's not something that I've got qualifications or so much knowledge in. So first of all, thanks for coming on. Are you in your office at the moment?
I am, yes. I'm in here, yeah, in my little room.
Happy days. Such is the modern way that we can work with people all over the country now, from Zoom and all the rest of it. So it doesn't actually matter where we are, but great to chat to you. So first things first, tell me a little bit about the work that you do, because we've only recently connected, haven't we, a couple of weeks ago. So tell me about your practice.
Yeah, thanks, Annabelle. Thanks for inviting me on. So the area I specialise in is fertility. And really, I chose that area because of my own personal experience. So I went through fertility struggles many years ago, trying to conceive my two children. And I work, across all areas of fertility. So people might come to me because they've got PCOS or endometriosis, so some sort of hormonal condition. I help people prepare for fertility treatment. So in the run up to treatment, making sure that, egg and sperm quality is looking as good as it can be. I support a lot of people going through miscarriages, sadly, and helping them then have a successful pregnancy. And also people going through a secondary infertility as well. So they may have had a family first time around, they may have had no problem. Quite often they're quite amazed because they conceived very easily first time, and then they're trying for a second child and it's just not happening for them. So them on that side of things. Couples going through donor eggs and sperm, so supporting through that as well. And also male factor infertility, that's kind of a growing area. So I support couples both on the male and female side as well.
It's a huge subject, isn't it? My goodness.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's a lot. And again, people come to you and there's all sorts of things going on. Quite often they don't really know what the problem is. So it's really important to kind of investigate and find out what's going on. It's a really important area.
One of my friends actually has been going through this process for some time, and has gone through the process of getting tested for this and that, and oh my goodness, you need like a some kind of science degree to actually even understand the results. Well, I feel like I do. Yeah. Normal language to you. So somebody like yourself presumably would be able to bridge the gap between interpreting these results and seeing what needs to be done nutritionally moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I work a lot with people's GPs, or if they're going through fertility treatment, then their consultants as well. But they often come to me having done a whole host of tests, maybe blood tests, obviously on the male side, a semen analysis, things like that. And they'll often say to me, "Oh, all the results came back normal." And I'll always say, "Well, send them to me and I'll have a look," because I look at them through a completely different lens. I'm not looking at, are they optimal results? Are they, within the NHS normal range? But I'm looking at, are they actually optimal, and that can be quite a bit different from NHS normal, and that's really important. So I'm looking at it from a completely different point of view, but these test results give us a real insight into what's going on, so it's really important that they
I think it's great that you've got that, although I wouldn't wish it on anyone, the fact that you've got the personal. What I was saying prior to it going down was, it just seems so unfair, doesn't it, how some people can fall pregnant when they're not even bothered about it, and others can do everything right, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason why it doesn't happen for them. So I mean, there is such a thing as, when it's unexplained fertility, what does that mean? So if someone's coming to you, and every box is ticked, what then?
That's the most frustrating thing, to be told there's nothing wrong. And they'll come to me and they'll say, I've got a diagnosis of unexplained infertility. That's not a diagnosis. That, to me, that just means we don't know what's the problem yet, because there's always a reason why things aren't happening. And that's when it's really important to dig deeper and really investigate and find out the root cause. That's all about finding out, why is it not happening? Could it be down to egg quality? Could it be down to sperm quality? Could it be an underlying thyroid condition, for example, that hasn't been picked up because everything's looking normal? You know, it could be a huge number of things, and it might not just be one partner. It can be, you know, been on both sides. But there's, you know, to come, you know, a lot of the people say to me, I almost wish I knew what it was, even if it's something really bad. I wish I knew the reason so we can work on it. And that's exactly what I do. We're looking at, can we find out what's the root cause here? Because to be told it's unexplained is just not helpful at all to anyone.
So the moral of the story is not to throw the towel in or become disillusioned, but to dig a little deeper, speak to your good self and establish the why, because there will be a why there somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's, you know, there's a why with everything. So yeah, absolutely. Certainly don't give up. It's a hard one when you feel you've literally tried everything and nothing seems to work. But there is kind of one more area to try, and that is important to work on.
Yes, absolutely. And from a nutrition point of view, if you were to give somebody some nutrition advice, what could they do to help themselves when trying to conceive?
There's lots and lots of things they can do, and obviously everyone is kind of starting from a different place. So quite often if people start to work with me, I'll ask them to complete a food diary, you know, not making any judgment at all, but it's just getting an idea of where they're starting. So I know, because some people already come to me and they tell me, you know, I'm already really healthy, you know, what else can you do, kind of thing. And then I look at the food diary and we talk more about their nutritional intake. There are gaps, there are things that can be done always, with everyone really. So, you know, it depends where someone's at, but as a kind of basic starting point, if I was to say, you know, one piece of nutritional advice for people would be to start looking at the Mediterranean diet or the Mediterranean way of eating. You know, get yourself a good Mediterranean cookbook and start trying those recipes. You know, find recipes online. You know, there's lots of resources out there, but it's really about following those principles. And actually, the principles of the Mediterranean diet, and it's not, as some people think, eating lots of pizza and pasta, unfortunately. Yeah, sadly, but it's their way of life. So in those Mediterranean regions, for example, you know, people eat together as a family. There's no TV dinners, rushing around eating your food. People sit down, they take their time, they eat slowly, they eat a meal. You know, they really enjoy it. It's a social thing. They really enjoy what they're, you know, their food. You know, they're active at the same time. That's really important, having an active lifestyle. And then things like making sure you're getting, you know, plenty of good quality protein, eating those vegetables and fruit, really important, nuts and seeds, things like that. So lots of plants going in there as well, but as well as, you know, your meats and your fish. And then there's, you know, there is some place there for a bit of dairy if you can tolerate it. You know, there is place also for a bit of sugar as well. We don't have to ban everything, but it's, you know, it's about moderation, and that kind of, there's less room for those sort of foods and more getting in the really good foods is a really good place to start.
What I take from the Mediterranean diet is good fats, good protein, whole foods. You know, when you see that kind of way of living, that certainly sounds good to me from where I'm standing.
Yeah. And the fats is a really good point, because I get a lot of people coming to me who may be trying to lose weight or thinking it's a healthy alternative, and they'll go for the low fat or no fat foods because they're lowering calories. And you know, it's explain to them that the fat in the foods is making us, it tastes really good and is making us feel satisfied, but also, you know, we need those healthy fats for hormone production, for example, for many functions, but to produce hormones. So if we're really restricting all of that, then it can be an issue. So we should embrace the olive oils and the full fat foods, definitely.
Yes, absolutely. I've had a few people come to me for weight loss before as a primary target, but if they're also trying to conceive at the same token, you've got a split thing here. And often clients will go down the 0 calorie whatever route, and that's not the case at all. We want whole foods, we want the calories, we want the good fats for hormonal regulation and all the rest of it. So but yeah, that's an interesting point. While we're thinking about food choices, we're coming up to Christmas at the moment, which is rather topical. So how might one navigate Christmas if you're trying to conceive? What are we saying? No alcohol, no nothing? What have we got to do?
It's a really tricky one. I think first point says that, you know, there's always going to be Christmas, there's always going to be holidays, there's always going to be events, there's always going to be excuses or reasons why we can't start or can't, you know, change our habits. But we need to learn to navigate these. They need, you know, they're not going to go away, and it's really about a lifestyle change. So when people work with me, normally I work with people over sort of a period of time, but my goal is not for them to change their way of eating for that period of time and then go back to how they were. It's about a lifestyle change. And the idea is that they change their ways, their lifestyle for the rest of their life. So you don't need to be really strict. And I like to say, certainly in general, but also over Christmas, what can you add in to your diet? So, for example, a traditional Christmas dinner, turkey Christmas dinner, can actually be really healthy. You've got a really good source of protein there, all the different type of vegetables. You can have lots of variety in your plate there. Can we get lots of those vegetables in rather than thinking, I can't eat that, I can't eat potato, a roast potato or anything like that? What can we add in all the time? And then there is room for some treats and other foods as well. So it is about enjoying yourself. And, a few days off is not going to ruin all your good work. If you're already working on this, don't panic that, I'm going to go off the wagon for a few days. It's going to ruin everything, because it won't. You can go back to how you were after Christmas. Really important to enjoy yourself, because if you're going to be stressed about everything you're eating, or if you're having a drink, etc., that's probably going to do more harm than good than having a few of those foods in. So it's really not something to worry about, and really take the time to relax and enjoy yourself, really, during that period.
You make a good point, actually. Rather than focusing on what you perceive you can't have, but that we should be looking at what there is out there. I mean, there's so much good stuff out there, sprouts, clementines, nuts, there's so much stuff that actually is really, really nice and enjoyable and in season. And most of us, unless you're kind of emergency work and all the rest of it, a lot of us have got more time at home to make these things as well. We haven't got the usual kind of work problem where we've got no time to make anything. Hopefully people have got a few days at home where they can start getting on top of planning and all that kind of stuff. So it can be a great opportunity to start, can't it, if you haven't already?
Absolutely. And some of those foods we might not regularly eat. As you say, they're in the season, so sprouts, because people only have sprouts over Christmas, or only have red cabbage over Christmas. And our gut microbiome, which the trillions of bugs that kind of reside in our gut, they love all this different variety of vegetables. So if you're having, a few sprouts or some red cabbage or whatever you're having, that can be really good for your gut as well. So it can be actually a real opportunity to get in those extra nutrients.
Absolutely. One thing that I've noticed that from, seeing how you work and all the rest of it, is you like to work with both partners, don't you? Rather than just the person who's maybe being more proactive, often the woman, dare I say it, but you like to speak to both partners. Why is that?
Yeah, so generally, most of the time I will work with couples. Sometimes, if, for example, it's supporting someone through a frozen embryo transfer, if they're doing fertility treatment, then at that point, the kind of male input is no longer needed. So I'll just work on the female side. But generally, if I can, and both are up for it, I'll work with them together. And that's really because more often than not, the couples are living together. It's about supporting each other. If one person's changing their diet and being really healthy and the other's not doing it, it's a lot harder, to do it that way. Quite often, even if it's just an evening meal, they're cooking together, they're sharing food. So they should really be doing it together. I also find that, for example, I just work with a female, she says, well, I'm going to relay this to my partner. It's hard coming from them than it is from me. Quite often, if the other partner can be here, involved, understand the science and the reasons behind the changes I'm suggesting, it can be much more effective. And also because it's say 50-50, and the research shows that sort of 30 to 40% of the time the reason for couples not conceiving can be male factor. There seems to be this growth in male infertility now, and so more often than not, we need to be working on the sperm health. And again, even if the male partner's been told everything's fine, there's always room for improvement. So I definitely get the best results if they come to me together and are both working on it.
Good, that's good to know. Now, unfortunately, infertility or trouble conceiving seems to be on the rise, or maybe that's just my perception for people that I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis. But that seems to be the case, and consequently you've launched a new program now, haven't you, called Nourishing Conception, so with a view to reaching as many people as possible. So what does that entail?
Yeah, so it's as I mentioned before, I do like to work with my clients over a period of time. So it's a 3-month program. It's my signature one-to-one program. So it's where I work with couples or if it is single people on their own. And the reason I do it's 3 months is because we know the research shows it takes around 3 months to mature an egg and to produce a healthy batch of sperm. So if you could be working on your health for a minimum amount of that time, that can be really effective. Sometimes it takes longer, but it's a really good starting point to give it the 3 months. And as I said, it's mainly with couples that I work, and my approach is really food first. So I work with supplements as well, and a lot of people come to me and they're already taking a whole load of supplements, which sometimes we actually need to strip down because sometimes people can take too many supplements. But I work very much in a food first approach. As I said, are we getting all the really good nutrients in? Sometimes if it's necessary, we need to take some things out, but it's about getting in. Then working with supplements and also working with testing. So we talked it before, people come to me with their test results, but I have access to what we call, functional medicine tests. So that could be looking at how their gut is functioning. It could be looking at the vaginal microbiome. So that's the bacteria in the vagina. And is that looking healthy for good fertility and good conception? And there's lots of research out there that shows that pathogenic, or what we call bad bacteria, is associated with things like early preterm birth, things like preeclampsia, and difficulty conceiving and increased miscarriage risk as well. So that's a really important area to make sure that's looking really good. And quite often, before the women are testing, they quite often don't have any symptoms. So you don't know whether it's something you should be testing because you've got symptoms. It can often bring up things that need working on, even if you don't have any symptoms at all, which is quite interesting. So I do a lot of testing with my clients, and then also working on lifestyle factors. So things like movement, as you all know, is really important. Sleep, stress, all those need to be looking really good as well for success, for sure.
Fantastic. Now Google Workspace is testing us a little with the signal at the moment, which I've got no idea why, because I'm in a good signal area, as are you. Maybe it's the weather. Where can people find you if they're having trouble or difficulty trying to conceive? Where can we find you, Julia? Because I'm not entirely sure. There might be a little bit missed off. I have to look this back here, but we may have lost signal temporarily. So where's your website and your Instagram if people want to know a little bit more about this?
Of course, yeah. So my website is www.juliayoungnutrition.com. And on there, if you go on that website, you'll see on the homepage I have a button for a free fertility review. So that's a 30-minute Zoom call. People can book in with me and have a discussion. We can talk about their fertility journey. I can find out more about their situation. And then, if they're interested in working with me, I can, tell them how I can help them. So it's an opportunity for them to see if, I'd be the right fit for them, and vice versa, to see if I can help them. Anyone's welcome to book that. And I'm also on Instagram quite a lot. So at Julia Young Nutrition is my handle on Instagram. So I post quite a lot on there, sort of useful tips and information. So people are welcome to look on there as well.
Fantastic. It's a very broad subject, and as you mentioned, there can be a million different reasons why people are having trouble, so it's impossible to try and cover it all in a brief conversation. But I wanted to chat to you because you're certainly the expert on the matter, and if anyone wants to know any more, they can drop you a message. So anything else you would like to add, Julia, to that?
Not really. I think, as I say, just as I say, don't worry about Christmas. I'd say the other point about people worrying about the food and what they can and can't eat. Christmas is also a really tricky time because there's a lot of focus on families and children. And if you're trying to get pregnant and, you might be visiting relatives that have just had babies, or you might have friends that are pregnant, it can be really, really tough time. So what I would say over this time is, be kind to yourself, look after yourself. It's okay to say no to events. If there's some get together where there's going to be pregnant friends or people asking questions about when you're going to have children, you don't have to attend everything. Hang out with people that are supportive, that are going to, that your tribe understand what you're going through. And if they don't, they're not going to be, again, asking you those awkward questions. And really just know it's a period of time, and know you have the strength to get through this and, get through onto the other side. So it's really about being kind to yourself over Christmas, definitely.
Very good advice, and a very testing time for anyone having to go through it. So certainly thinking of those guys. Okay, Julia, thank you so much for coming to chat to us. Apologies about the slight technical hitches. I will see if I will look at it back. If it's too jumbly, I'll do a little bit of editing, but thank you so much for sharing some of your expertise with us.
Thank you for having me. It's been really nice.
My pleasure. Catch you soon.
Bye.